This is how Justin Welsh built a $5.1 million sales funnel. Within just a few years, he went from a horrible corporate job that literally gave him a panic attack to building one of the most profitable one-person businesses on the planet. But how? How did he build an audience of over 1 million people in such a short time? And not only that, but turn that audience into a business that makes over $13,000 per day. What does he know that the average creator doesn't? To find out, I spent the last 2 weeks scouring over interviews, looking at all of his content, and mapping everything he does. And what I found is it all comes down to his 3-part funnel that I'm going to walk you through in this video. The first part of his funnel is arguably the most important, but also the most overlooked. You see, you can have the best offer in the world, the best business in the world, but if no one ever sees it or hears about it, it doesn't matter. Which is why the first part of its funnel is discovery. So let's look at this from a 30,000-foot view. The way he builds his audience is through these top-of-funnel channels on Twitter and LinkedIn. He has about 500,000 people on both of these channels. Let's look at his LinkedIn first. Again, he has over 500,000 followers on LinkedIn, and he says his strategy comes down to posting on 2 platforms a day, again, Twitter and LinkedIn, 2 to 3 times per day. So if we look at just for, the past day, he has a couple posts. You can see he's posting quite a bit, and this is getting pretty good engagement. So he's doing 2 things really, really well on LinkedIn. He's growing the top of the funnel through discovery, trying to get more cold people to find his content. And we're going to get into more of why this is so important in a second, but this is where it all begins. And what he's doing on this content is making relevant, valuable content for people in his audience, right? So for instance, have you started a newsletter? It's extremely difficult. You have to do all of these things. I've gotten this result. You can sign up here to get it, and he pushes people to his newsletter, which brings me to the second part of his funnel. But before we get into the middle of the funnel, I want to look at something in the top of the funnel. And that's how he structures his content to sell to the desires of his market, right? Let's look at this. I'm not a productivity machine. I don't maximize every hour. I don't care about squeezing every last drop of revenue out of my business. I'm not interested in using people and discarding them for personal gain. Instead, I want to take a nap on Monday. I want to go on a Tuesday road trip without asking anyone's permission. I want to have a 2-martini lunch on a Wednesday. I want to volunteer on Thursdays, and I'll take 52 Fridays off over the next 52 weeks. Okay, what's going on here? Well, he's selling this desire. I think 2 things are really interesting. One, he's talking about how he's not a productivity machine. And I think that's interesting because most gurus kind of preach just like, do as much as you can, squeeze every last drop out. If you're not working on Sundays and you're failing basically. And he's preaching against that, right? Without like calling them out directly, but he's preaching this different message to people who don't like that other message, right? And it's true to him because he was a SaaS executive that was burnt out. Again, that literally led him to having a panic attack.
I was hallucinating, I was screaming, I was down on all fours, gripping the ground, yelling, like it was a pretty bad day.
So now he can preach this message because it's true to his story. So that's number one, is he's speaking to their desire. And that's really probably the most important part of his entire business. And then he just adds in this value of how to get the desire that you want, which is through solopreneurship. So now that we know that, let's look back at the middle of the funnel. So this newsletter is the middle of the funnel. Now, one thing we're going to get to in a second is how people can actually skip the middle of the funnel. But for now, we're going to look at it. So this is the middle of his funnel, the Saturday Solopreneur, practical tips guiding you from first dollar to full-time solopreneur. So his audience, he says, is 80% beginners, I believe, 80 or 90% beginners. So he's creating content that's about this, how to get that first dollar and how to go from that to full-time solopreneur, right? So for someone like me, who's a full-time business owner, this wouldn't resonate with me, right? But that's okay because 80% of his audience are these beginners, right? So he knows that. And he adds this social proof right here. That's really cool. Some recognizable faces like Dan Coe. We just did a video on him. A bunch of testimonials here. We see this commonly now with creators are adding these like the dual sliding just to make them seem like there's more than there actually is there. I'll help you make the leap and earn the freedom. I don't know what that means, but okay. Oh, there we go. Freedom to live how and where you want. Again, he's speaking to their desires, and then subscribe to begin. So this is fairly basic, but if we go to his website here, which is also another place you can subscribe to the newsletter, you can look at some of these past newsletters and you can see how he's writing these. These are just really good writing, straight to the point, but lots of value inside of these. But what does he do at the end of them? Well, he says, whenever you're ready, there's 4 ways I can help you. Here's his 3 products. And this is where we get to the bottom of the funnel. The bottom of the funnel is where people go from being just an opt-in, being a lead, to actually converting into being a customer, right? So he has 2 main programs. And then he has a real bottom of the funnel, which is called the Creator MBA, but we're going to get to that in a second. So These two main programs are the ones he's had for the longest. And let's look at these. The LinkedIn operating system, I believe, it's his most popular, 20,000 students. The other one has 10,000. And this is actually, they just bumped it up to 200 and it's discounted right now, but it was $150. So they've probably done around $3 million in sales just on this, maybe 2 million. The other one has 10,000 students. So that one has probably done $1.5 million. That's 4 million just here. But what we're going to get to in a second, from my calculation, has made them more like 3.5 million in the past, I don't know how many months, not very long. So this is, again, the bottom of the funnel, how he's selling this LinkedIn course. So go from undiscovered to growing and monetizing your LinkedIn account. Okay, great headline. Why? If you saw our last video on the 7 beliefs that successful funnels use, the bridge was number 1, right? They position their product as a bridge from their current situation to the prospect's desired situation. Current situation, undiscovered, to desired situation, growing and monetizing your LinkedIn account. Image of, the product, I guess it's not a physical product, but a lot of people use these to kind of make them seem more valuable, raise the perceived value. Subheadline, join 50 plus LinkedIn top voices, 20,000 students to accelerate the growth of your personal brand on LinkedIn. Social proof to get your result. Then the exact system I use to get result that you want, 5.2 million in income. Access for $99, social proof. Learn LinkedIn from the #1 ranked global LinkedIn creator. That is a mouthful, but again, result from social proof, right? And then shows it right here in more social proof, recall to action, more social proof, more social proof. And that's really the main bulk of this page. He uses this cool tool, I believe it's called testimonials.io. And when people submit a review, they automatically get added to this page. Then he breaks down what you'll learn inside, kind of shows these little video screenshots of this. Finally, figure out your niche and topic, create content people actually read, capture better leads. Listen to these titles. They're not just how to market, right? It's like how to get the result that you want, capture better leads for your business. Very specific to what they want. Grow your business on autopilot. It's not just grow your business, it's grow it on autopilot. He's speaking to what they want. More social proof, bunch of 5-star reviews, more social proof, call to the action on the offer, goes through the content once again. More social proof, FAQ. Is it worth $200? I spent 100 hours. Wow. Nice. Okay. And then down at the bottom here, they recall to action one more time. Unlock the LinkedIn operating system today. Last week, another 211 students signed up. And click access. It takes me to this page. LinkedIn operating system, join 50 plus LinkedIn top voices, 20,000 students. For $200, discounts off $101. This page is decent. Obviously, this is working really, really well. One thing we like to test a lot is if we can make a custom checkout page and see if we can beat a checkout page like this. Or even, in this case, I might test, hey, Stripe's checkout. Does that work better than Kajabi's here? Now, of course, this one's going to be the simplest, right? Because this whole program is on Kajabi. So to have the checkout right there, you eliminate needing Zapier and all that stuff. But you might be able to get more conversions by testing that. But all in all, this page is good. Lots of social proof. An interesting thing to think about here is if your top of funnel isn't as strong as Justin Welsh is, meaning you don't have all this content that warms people up, when they get to the page, there probably needs to be more to actually sell them. But he can get away with a smaller page with less content and just more social proof, because he's just pushing people across the edge because they already trust him, right? We talked about this last week. When your traffic already believes what you need them to believe in order to buy, when they get here, you don't have to do as much. So that's LinkedIn OS. The other one is Content OS. Now on this one, he's doing almost the exact same thing. So we're just going to skim through this, build a better, faster content production system. That headline's decent because this is kind of a surface level benefit to what they actually want, which is to get the result from social media, right? To grow their following, to make more money from social media. So you could probably make that better and increase conversion rate a little bit there. Some social proof from big creators. That's great. Then he shows a little bit quicker what you'll learn. Ideate, write, promote, multiply, curate, create, templatize, distribute, cool. And then a bunch more reviews again, what you'll learn, and then kind of goes through those things once again. FAQ, a lot less reviews on this one, which is interesting. I mean, it's a smaller course, but he could probably split up these review sections to 2 different sections and, might have a little bit more of a perception of more reviews if they're split up like that. Now, where it gets interesting is Creator MBA, because this is really the bottom of the funnel. And the reason I say that is because it's more high ticket, right? So a lot of people who have, been in his other programs, right? His 30,000 other students, now that, they were craving for more, now he's giving them more inside of this higher ticket program that's $900. But what's interesting is he actually had a higher ticket one in the beginning. I think that sold out I think it was like 6K. You got some one-on-one coaching, something around there. But build a lean, profitable internet business in 2024. Okay, this is good. This is what people want. Not super specific. When we're writing headlines, we want them to be specific typically, but still speaks to their desired outcome, which is great. The Creator MBA delivers a complete blueprint for starting, building, and sustaining a profitable internet business. The call to action is really interesting. Start watching the Creator MBA. And if you do that, it takes you down to these testimonials where you can then scroll and see the price. I love this, that he like kind of showcases the product in this cool, bundle sort of way. On this one, because it's a higher ticket program, he has a little bit more copy. Once upon a time he had a job, and then he goes and, kind of hits on this pain, right? But now you can take your same skills, amplify them on the internet, make money off of it. Included in this training is all of the resources you need to reliably build a business that affords you the freedom to do everything you want. What you'll learn breaks down what's inside of the content. And then again, bunch of social proof with big names, right? ConvertKit, AppSumo, Morning Brew, right? You've probably seen these people before, which again lends credibility to him, because if you trust Noah Kagan when you land here, you're going to trust Justin Welsh kind of by default. Everything you need to start or scale a profitable online business. Again, his social proof showing what's inside. Once again, stacking the offer more than just theory. You're not a good fit for this course. If you're this person, you are. If you're this person, try to just weed out the bad people. I really like how Justin Welsh does this, because a lot of people, when they sell courses, they try and hype everything up, right? Like this is for everyone and anybody. But in this case, like he's saying, hey, if you equate success with just buying a course, right? You're not willing to do the unsexy work. You're expecting me to just tell you what to do every minute of the day, right? You're worried about tools. And he says you're not a good fit, which disqualifies people. And that's important because it keeps his reputation high. So in some ways, this is probably going to do two things. It might turn away some people, which is good because they shouldn't buy it to begin with, but it's also going to make people want to buy more because they appreciate the integrity and the genuineness that he has by just saying this, and their expectations are going to be right. So when they get into the product, they're going to use it, right? He's training them as he's selling them to actually use what he's going to sell them. Then it says ready to join, $897, stacks the offer, watch now is a call to action, some social proof, little about Justin there, FAQ, why I'm offering no refunds, nice, build a lean profitable internet business 2024, start watching. Now, if I click here, watch now, this is really interesting. They have this pop-up, $897, you can check out all right here. Now, I don't know, I've never tested something like this. In theory, there's less friction, but I would be really curious to know if this converts better. I think this is still on Kajabi, if this converts better than their traditional cart checkout. I'd be really curious to know which one of those converts better. So that's the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. But of course, that's not the only way for people to buy these products. If you go to LinkedIn, if I just found him, I could literally click on this link and go straight to that, LinkedIn course and buy it right away. But that's probably the flow that most people go through. Now, there's another part of the business though that's really interesting and makes probably 4 times more than the average person in the US by just this small part of his business that takes almost no time. And that's through sponsorship on his newsletter. So he has around 215,000 people on his newsletter. He gets around 100,000 weekly readers on his newsletter, and he sells spots for that for $3,500. And he sells 2 per week, meaning if he fills up every spot, he's selling $7,000 per week. There's 52 weeks in a year, which means he's making $364,000 a year by adding a line to his newsletter. Let me show you this really quick. So if I go to his newsletter right here, 8 steps to your first mini course. This one he has 2 sponsorships. So these each paid $3,500, health insurance, and then some workspace. I don't know what that is. Just on that one, right? So $7,000. On this one, 2 sponsorships. Once again, $7,000. Another one, 2 sponsorships, right? Just right here. So you can see every single week he's filling these up with sponsorship spots. And that's just like the side part of the business that takes probably almost none of his time. Literally, you can just book it on his site. There's no sales process. And all he does is add this little copy right here, or they might even give the copy, and he adds it in. And he adds this little link, sponsor the newsletter, where you can come here. And again, just $3,500. You click reserve my sponsorship. You go to a Calendly page where I can literally pay right here. Right, it's all booked out till almost the end of May that I can do this, but I have to pay $3,500 to sponsor his newsletter. If you like this video and you want me to sponsor, I'm just kidding. But that's the bulk of his funnel. I'm sure he does some other things on the side, maybe some extra consulting in the back end, but this is probably where 95% of his revenue comes from. It's extremely simple. He runs, I think he says, with about 92% profit margins. He has these low ticket courses, a decently mid-ticket creator MBA course, and then the sponsorship, and he makes $5.2 million per year. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this one about Dan Coe, who's running a similar business, but doing it slightly different. Check that one out, and I'll see you there.